So let's import our materials that we're going to be using. The first thing we'll do is create our skybox. The skybox is the area that the player can see around them. Generally, when we're working on a real-world type application where we've got terrain or water or something like that, we're just worried about the top, left, right, front, and back. Of course, this is going to be a space, so we also have a bottom to take into consideration. This is actually just simply simple JPEG or PNG files that have been created in Photoshop to give a star field type look. So we're going to go ahead and get started creating that. We'll go to and do an import. So I'm going to go up to Assets and I'm going to import a new asset. My assets are all located on my desktop, so we can just simply go to the desktop and be able to pull those in there. And I'll import these all real quick. Same process for all of them. Now I should tell you that is one way to import, is through the assets import asset. You can also simply drag them into your project and it will automatically import through that process as well. Now you can see my objects, my PNG files. I created these specifically for this project. They're all 512 by 512. Some of them are a little larger than what I would like in file size, but for the time being, that'll be okay. We need to go through each of these materials and change the wrap mode from repeat to clamp so that they don't go through and continuously repeat inside the environment. That would look a little strange for our background. So we just simply go through all 6 of these real quickly and make that change. There we go. Now we're ready to create our first material, which is actually going to be our skybox. So underneath Project, I'm going to click on Create, Material, and as you can see, it has created a new material object here, and we'll call that Skybox. And underneath the inspector, I'm going to go to Skybox where it says Shader, click the down arrow and select Render FX Skybox. And now all I need to do is drag each of these graphics into the textured area so that it will show properly inside the environment. So I'll do that real quick. Okay, I've pulled them all in and we can see everything ready to go there. So we've got our Skybox material set up here. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and add it to the camera. So I'm going to go to Main Camera, Component, Rendering, Skybox. And that will add the Skybox component to the main camera. And now all I need to do is drag the Skybox material over to where it says None Material. There we go. Now you can see we've got in our game view, we now have stars in our background. Next, let's go ahead and create our player object. Now, as I mentioned, I don't have a starship ready to go yet. My graphics person is working on the starship. One of the great things about Unity is we can go ahead and create objects inside the environment and then be able to add in the things as they're created later on in the game. So for the time being, I've got my camera set up. I'm going to go ahead and create a new object inside the environment to represent the player. To do this, the first thing I'm going to do is that I've got the main camera. You can see that its position is set at X of 0, Y of 1, and Z at -10. I'm going to clear that out to 0, 0, 0 so that it's got a base location for me to work from. So it's located in my virtual environment, my virtual world, at location 0, 0, 0. It also has a rotation of 0, 0, 0. So we're now ready to go ahead and insert an object. To do that, I'm just simply going to go into Game Object, Create Other, Cube. Now I've got a cube now in that environment. I'm going to go ahead and place it at 0, 0, 0. So it's right there on top of the camera. You can see it there in the middle. I'm going to increase its size just a smidge, and I'm going to scale it up to 1.5. Typically, when we're talking about scaling and movement inside the environment, you should consider each unit, such as scale or position, approximately equal to 1 meter. So 1 unit equals approximately 1 meter in most game type development. Of course, the scale is very changeable depending on what the designer wants. It's a good way to think of units as meters. Now I've got cube here. I'm going to rename my cube to player so I know exactly what it is. There we go. There's my player. And I'm going to attach the camera to the player. So I'm going to click on the camera and drag it onto player. Now the main camera is associated with the player. Anything that happens to the player, such as movement, will also happen to the camera. The camera can be considered a child of the player. Player is the parent, camera is the child. We're going to add some more child items to the player before we're all said and done here. The next thing I want to do is I want to make this look a little bit more interesting inside the environment. So I want, or my cube that I'm working with. So I'm going to go over here to materials, and I'm going to, underneath the project menu, click on create material. And it's, as you can see, it says new material. And I'm going to give the new material M player. So this is the material for the player. So here's my player, or the material that I'm going to put on the player. And as you can see in the inspector, I've got M player, and I'm going to change the main color of this to red so it stands out against the black background that I've created. There we go. So you can see red is now associated with the material, and I'm going to drag that over to the player here, and as you can see, my cube turned red. Isn't that pretty cool? So we've now created an object that's going to represent our player. We've got that object located at position 0, 0, 0. We've scaled it up, and we've added a material to it, and we're now, I think, ready to add some light to our environment. So let's do that. To Game Object, click on Create Other, and go to a Directional Light. And we're going to locate the directional light out here. As you can see, I've now got light. I'm currently in perspective view. I'm going to change over here to the, well, X, there's Y. I'm using the mouse button to scroll back. There's my light. And as you can see, it shows you the direction the light's going. Currently, the light is shining on my screen from left to right. I'm going to rotate that by clicking on the rotate here. The rotate allows you to be able to change it on the 3 axes. I'm going to change it so it's shining down a little bit. And this is just to add some lighting inside of our environment. It doesn't really do a whole lot for us other than it does allow us to be able to see objects inside the environment. So now I've got a directional light set up and we're ready to go on to the next phase.